Welcome into another slightly delayed episode of The Right Stuff, a Blood Bowl podcast brought to you by Empire Games, coming out of sometimes lovely, always memeing Anderson, South Carolina. I'm Yannie, here with Nathan.
We've got a jumbo episode today. We're behind a couple of days just due to the timing of the way stuff worked out. We are contractually obligated one Scott-less episode during the season. We had to wait for him to return from Las Vegas from his, ayahuasca trip out in the desert to come back and engineer the episode. We've got a lot of games to cover.
Yeah.
And then we've got kind of a playoff picture.
Yeah, it's somewhat cleared up a little bit.
Yeah. We basically have almost 2 full weeks worth of games to talk on, basically. So we're going to have to try to cram that in here as fast as we can.
Yes.
So
we got 2-minute drills.
Yeah.
Going.
Yeah.
And part of the reason that we were caught up is we had a substitution in the leg day division. So there were some extenuating circumstances that caused Christian to have to drop. So we had some games that needed to get caught up, about 5 of them.
Yep.
And a new challenger has approached. So I drafted just like a dark, messed up version of a Blood Bowl roster. Haha. Just a glimpse into my dark reality. A full stare into my twisted dice perspectives would make most simply go insane. LMAO. So I jumped in, volunteered to be the ringer. I'm playing halflings. So we're doing the Hamburger Harmers with the namesake meme. But wanted to play a team that I had not played before, kind of give some people some chances to rack up some casualties. And also make it where if you needed the win, then you gotta come and take it from me for my stubby little sandwich topping laden fingers. So that was kind of the plan. But jumping in, there were 5 games to catch up on, which we got a couple of them in, and by the end of the week we'll have some more. But yeah, I've been playing a lot of Blood Bowl in the past 7 days. I've had 6 actual games, including the playoff game in Greenville. So
yeah,
and I got another one tonight, and then I got 2 more this week. So
yep. And then the showdown everybody, all the podcast fans want, the you and me game is also on the horizon.
Yes, the host bowl.
Yep.
I just want to run through my games real quick with the halflings, catch up at least through to week 11. So the first game that I played was actually my week 10 game against the Realm Gate Marauders, and we're doing 2-minute draws for this, so I'm going to go ahead and start. So I was playing against Fred's humans. My inducement plan for this was to go a little bit softer, so I went Maple, Chef, and Rodney. Fred was really aggressive with his blitzes, which led to both the blitzers being in my backfield, which led to the blitzers being removed by fouls on turn 1 and 2. Maple was able to rush over and get next to the catcher who had the ball, and then Tentacles did their thing. So we went into the half scoreless because Rodney was unable to do his once per half at the end to pick up the ball to do a handoff to score. Eventually knocked the ball out, but whatever. Going into the second half, there were not very many humans left to line up because a lot of them had gotten fouled out of the game and a couple casualties. Fred was kicking off to me, and I scored quickly. If you look at the tour play for this game, there's a foul every turn up to turn 11, and that is because on turn 11 there were no players left to foul. So I ran in and scored. Fred had 1 player in reserves that had been apothecaried from dead from a foul, and he had a bunch of knockouts. None of the knockouts came back, so he just decided to call it there. First impressions with Maple and Rodney was my first game with either one of them. Maple felt really, really good. And Rodney's a cool piece to do some tricks.
Rodney's a bargain for 70K. There's a lot of stuff that Rodney can do. I'm honestly really impressed by that piece. The fact that he's got wrestle means he's got survivability beyond what a lot of like 70K star player have, right?
Yeah.
So.
And coming off a season in Greenville playing gnomes, playing the first halfling game was kind of like the scene in Naruto when Rock Lee drops the weights. Having dodge rerolls on everything, just getting to throw players around the field felt incredible.
Yeah.
Okay. 2 minutes and 5 milliseconds on that with the added commentary.
Yeah, right.
Next game up that I had to play was against the Barbarians. This was a week 7 catch-up game. So getting into this one, inducement plan for this one was a little bit heavier because Ides in playoff contention. Didn't want to give anyone in the race any like easy wins. You got to earn it to get in the playoffs. So this was a kind of standard Griff, Chef, Morgue setup. The first half, I kicked to Ide. The ball bounced to a Black Orc on the line. I think the second block Ide threw, he casualtied a tree into miss next game. It was like box cards into 11. Then the Black Orc with the ball went to go throw a block on the other tree, rolled skull boat down, brawlered, and rolled skull. So ball pops out. I'm trying to make a play to get to it. Griff gets the ball, runs in the back. The Dauntless Goblin is kind of getting to Griff and being a little annoying. The ball pops to a sideline. I try to go for the score at the end of the half. So I go to a handoff. Ball pops out. I like snake the dodge. Ball pops out. And Ide makes like 2 dodges plus a handoff plus 2 pushes and a pickup to hand the ball off and score at the end of the first half.
Wow.
And I'm not able to get the 1 turn. Second half, get the ball. I'm able to score. And it was trying to kind of solve the game. It kind of just like ended up falling around in the middle, kind of fumbling around. I had a chance to go up on the last turn with a pass from Griff.
He's passing 3.
Yeah.
If he hasn't used his once per game reroll, it's actually not that bad if you're throwing like a quick pass.
Yeah. So this was going to be it was a short pass.
Okay. So
after pushes. So because he has all that movement, he went for the push, snaked it with the once per game, and so it was a tie.
Yeah.
Another 2 minutes. Next game that I had to play against was Snotlings. This one was about as enjoyable as any Snotling game could be. Because I was missing the tree, I couldn't really play the inducement game. My plan was to go in with a higher team value and then maybe take like the Chef and Rumbelow.
Yeah.
But because I was missing the tree, Juan was able to take a pump wagon, which kind of blew that plan up. And that's pretty much all I have to say about this game. It was not interesting. It was not enjoyable. The biggest issue was having 1 tree. I wasn't able to get the Chef because he had 90k above me, and just left it at that. So I couldn't get the Chef. I took Cindy and a Mascot to get some semblance of a reroll.
Yeah.
Mascot worked in the second half, didn't work in the first. Cindy
blew herself up, right?
Cindy blew herself up in the second half. She successfully argued to stay in. And then in the second half, she went to go use her once per game. There's a group of like 3 Snotlings and a Troll that were within quick pass range. And then the ball, the game was 1-0 at this point. The ball was in, I want to say it was like a long pass, but I was like, this is like the best chance. Cindy was about to die to the Troll because I could only ever tie up 1 Troll at a time. The other Troll was going around feeding on halflings. So the first bomb I throw, Snotling catches it, throws it back. Cindy catches it, throws it back. Snotling does not catch it that time. It blows up. It breaks that 1 Snotling. It doesn't break it. It knocks it down. Does not break it. And then the second pass was a fumble.
If Cindy's like taking 2 Snotlings off the field with every bomb throw or something like that, then you probably come out ahead in this game, right?
Yeah. If any of my players did anything at any point in the game, it probably would have been fine. But it's a game against Juan, so nothing ever happens for you, and everything always happens for him. So yeah. So those are my 3 like catch-up games. I have a week 11 game we can talk about later. But do you want to get through the rest of these games to catch up? So yeah, we had a week 8 game. Was the Necromantic State Hellhounds and the Wretched Foul Fangs. This one was kind of a SPP feast for Jennings.
Right.
Just going in 3-1 win, doing what you need to do, taking care of business.
Yeah, usually a gutter runner is going to sneak through somewhere in the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Jennings was stacking the body like cordwood, right? Like 7 casualties is quite a bit. And even if you lose there, Joel got 16 SPP. That's not a bad loss.
Yeah,
not really.
Really solid for
So
being able to get, like, you're building a team up kind of like, that was going to be a tough game anyway. Coming out of it with double-digit SPP has got to feel good.
yeah.
That was our only week 8 catch-up. Other week 9 catch-ups, another Wretched Foul Fangs game against Arbor Vitae, and this was another 3-1 win for Joel's opponents. What else are just kind of able to pile it on in the second half?
Yeah, I think the thing about, say, Underworld is that they don't really have the stats or the skills needed to kind of... and Joel probably doesn't have the experience to know how to bully Wood Elves the way you need to bully them to dictate the flow of the game, right? If you're letting the Wood Elves control the pace of the game, then you're constantly fighting for the ball in your own backfield, right? I do think Underworld has the tools needed to win against Elves, and it's going to usually require like a very carefully sculpted inducement package. But I think the lack of experience here is probably the major component for sure.
Yep. Let's see. Then we had the Metropolitan Dumpster Rats and the Realm Gate Marauders. A rematch of Ratmageddon.
Yeah.
Only one team on Rats. It's
Yeah.
a 3-2 win for Barbie.
Yeah, she posted what she had to do to win that game. They were tied, and she made a whole lot of rolls in the last turn to score. And so, yeah, she's not afraid to try to make those rolls. Sometimes she jumps to that conclusion before there, but I think that's the difference between her playing Skaven and her playing Dark Elves. With Dark Elves, it was harder for her to get those scoring opportunities, regardless of how many ever dice you need to roll. Skaven, on the other hand, Gutter Runners are just very good at scoring.
Yeah.
So, she's. I think she's had a lot more fun with the with this season, just because she's able to get the ball in the end zone, and that even if you're tying or losing, that helps, right? You at least feel like you were in contention for the game. So, yeah, Fred lost a pretty close one there. But if your opponent's just going to make the rolls, then there's nothing you can do. So
yeah, exactly. Like, there's certain things you can do in the course of a game to try to make them roll more dice, but like there's still a limit to that. And also, if they're always rolling like 5s or 6s, that probably doesn't matter how many dice you make them roll. You're probably not going to get them.
Yeah, exactly. You're right, for sure.
Last week 9 game was Slaughterhouse 11 and the Soul Peak Dooms.
Yeah, so that was a bit of a makeup game there, and this one played out very similar to the game I'll cover, where I'm playing against people whose teams have had a rough go of it up into playing into me. So they come into the game with like a solid inducement package, and so both of these games I had to play against a star. My opponents have some stuff on their team that they can scrap with, that they can get into like a straight up brawl with me. And so I'm still a little gun shy because earlier in the season I took a lot of damage, and so I wasn't relishing playing against mummies. However, the movement down mummy, I knocked it over in the first half, and that mummy was basically out of the game. He failed to roll the 4-up needed to get it to stand up at any point. And so I actually did catastrophic damage to Jack's team in that first half. If you look at the tour play for this, it's really funny. You see me rattle off like 4 casualties in a row. All of them were regenerated. So I did get I managed to take out 1 skeleton, and I took out Frankenstein, and he didn't regenerate. So I was able to get Frank out of the game. Frank was responsible for the only casualty. He has Mighty Blow, and his once per game gives you an extra +1 to injury rolls. So if you just roll a natural armor break, then it's basically Mighty Blow +2 on the injury. So he casualtied Bloodseeker, and I Apothecary to get it back in the game. And Jack's dice were just flat out terrible. I managed to take the ball from him and score in the second half. And the way it played out, like, he's got one turn to hit me back. He's used all of his rerolls. He lines up. He rolls the first block with a mummy, and he double skulls right there. So he didn't even get to do any retribution to me. So I felt pretty bad for his dice, but you just can't win a game if you're going to roll like that. So.
Right. Yeah, definitely gonna be rough, especially with a team that is kind of set up to take a beating.
Yeah,
like, you've engineered the team in a way to, like, you can be resilient.
Yeah.
Also, I know this game was, like, out of sequence, so I just want to point out this is going to be the second time this season where I've had to play against somebody who can take a skill on their big guy because of a massive game immediately before mine. So, very, very thankful for that. All right, on to our Week 10 games. We got a lot of these, since this would be, typically the Week 10 recap episode.
Right.
So first up, we had Taisho Charon and Those Who Wander. It was a 1-2 loss for Chris, and it just kind of looked like Will did the gym thing.
Yeah, I think so. I think Chris got hurt a little early in this game. He was a little overzealous with fouling, is what it kind of looked like, because I think he had 2 people ejected. And so what was relatively a close game, with those ejections, now Chris is, like, down people, right? Like, both teams are very expensive. Both of them have they have a pile of just team value, right? And then suddenly you have 2 players kicked out, and then it kind of, like, it's going to tilt drastically in the favor of the team who still has the most players. So I think that's what the story of this game was. Is Chris is down players. The Slan can make stuff happen down players just because of the way the pogo stick and the leap work. But I don't relish that position. You end up having to take risks, and if they just don't pan out, then you get punished pretty hard.
Yeah, and that's seems to be the case. It's just like, I don't know. This is not a stat that we can really track short play without going through every single game, but I feel like if I had $1 for every time Chris had a player sent off on a turn 1 foul, I could take a vacation.
Yeah,
pretty nice.
Yeah, for sure.
Happens way too often to, like, what should statistically happen, I guess. But all right, up next we had a Rag and Bone and Tryhards. This was. Do you want to take a stab at recapping this game?
Yeah. So from what I understand, Ness threw 20 stabs in this game, and so what the notes that I put here was that there was some sort of stabbing westward joke to be made here, but I wasn't gonna, like, hurt my back trying to, like, reach for it or anything like that. And since there were 3 deaths in the game, then maybe Drowning Pool would have been a better name for it, or just, like, say let the bodies hit the floor, but let the bodies hit the floor is by Drowning Pool, not Stabbing Westward. I think Stabbing Westward is more of, like, an industrial band and not a new metal band. I think Drowning Pool was firmly in the new metal category. Anyway, that's to say this game was wacky if I'm talking about 90s bands. I think Sean's discipline and experience overcame the random nature of Ness's gameplay, and he managed to pull through a win there.
Yeah.
So
what Sean told me after the game, and then immediately followed by saying that I wouldn't remember any of this to talk about in the podcast, was in the first half that he was able to keep Ness from scoring, but he was down to, like, 4 players left. But he was able to stop the score, and then in the second half, it was a complete turnaround where he got Ness down to 4 players, and then Ness couldn't stop him.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So he was trying to go for as many stabs as humanly possible, which should not surprise anybody.
Yeah. I don't think no one's shocked by this.
Yeah. Up next, we had Renegades of Funk and Little Titans of Mayhem. 304 Chaos Renegades.
So all of the bad luck that you experienced was essentially karmically offset by this game, right?
We can't talk about karmic offsets in WoN because that just does not really compute. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone in the audience can appreciate that if they don't know the backstory.
But yeah, I mean, apparently Juan rolled all 1s and 2s. He actually sent me a text about it. He said that he and Sean were both rolling 1s at the beginning of the game, but then Sean stopped rolling the 1s. And so apparently Sean was able to deflect multiple bomb throws. And so Juan ended up throwing more bombs that hit his own team than Sean's during the course of the game. And then one of those deflected bombs knocked the ball into the Giant and Morg and knocked them both down. And then both of them got fouled out in back-to-back turns. And I think Bomber ends up getting casualtied in that. So like if you look at tour play, it's like turn 6 or whatever, and it's like Morg dead, Bomber hurt. Next turn, Giant hurt. And so if you just take 700, almost 800k worth of players off the board in 2 turns, you're probably in great shape to finish out the game. Apparently it was close to a tie at one point during the game, but the Dark Elf had some heroics where he was able to like dodge through some snotlings and blitz the ball carrier and knock the ball loose, and then the elf ends up getting like surfed, but the ball goes in the wrong direction, he tried to frog the elf somewhere in that game with the wizard and ended up rolling another 1. So very, very funny result for Juan. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you just like look at the inducement plan. It's like your big hitters all being gone in the span of 2 turns is
wild.
It's devastating to your game plan.
Yeah.
It's like now you're down to your trolls versus 3 big guys, one of which is an absolute nightmare for anything trying to dodge away from it. Like Rat Ogre is just like Rat Ogre's like the stunty slayer. So
for sure.
Yeah. All right, up next we had Darn Tootin' and the Gondolin Glory Hounds.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a recap for this one. Mm-hmm. So apparently Jim snaked a roll with his ball carrier in the first half, and that was basically the game. It was Jim made like a kind of like a calculated risk, came up with the 4% chance for it to go wrong, and that was all Jurgen needed to kind of just take control of the game. Jurgen mentioned that there was like a get the ref rolled somewhere in here, and so if you look at the log, there were like 13 fouls between both players, and Jim was able to leave a mark because I think he killed 2 dwarves in this game, and so it's just not the dwarf that everybody's scared of, right? So I think Jurgen's fine. I guess Jurgen's actually kind of paralyzed with his apothecary, right?
Yeah.
Any random okay player, any like all right player doesn't get an apothecary, right? Like you're not just gonna apothecary a random line dwarf, even if he's got 1 skill, because you've got so much of the rest of the game to play. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you just got like that. I think that is like a thing people could use to their advantage.
They could, yeah.
In the Jurgen games, like like there are other players that have skills that you could like if you put one of these other, like if you put like a blitzer, you put these blockers with skills on the ground, they're probably not getting that apothecary. Like those apothecaries are almost 100% saved for the runners. So you could just be like, hey, we are going like. this is the sacrifice you're going to make. Like, you have to sacrifice every other skilled player on your team
You're right.
to keep this runner alive. And obviously, the Dorf chassis for a player is very solid, so it's not going to be the biggest loss. But, going into a playoffs, like, one player is probably not going to carry you. You're going to need other skills to
you
go
need
next
a team.
to it.
Yeah,
so.
Right. You need a team, and that's I think that's very true. That's the kind of thing I've struggled with my team, right? Like, what happens if the Bloodspawn goes down, right? Like, what does my team do from there? And fortunately, I've got enough skills kind of spread around. But yeah, I could find myself in a very similar situation where like the part of my game plan is like making sure that this piece is a menace. Jurgen's game plan is to like score with like a nearly unstoppable threat. 8 speed, 5 strength is bananas. It's probably the scariest player we've seen in the league since that the Wand Dark Elf. So, yeah.
Yeah, so and with that result, the only person that could theoretically catch Jurgen for top of the leaderboard in the late A division is Sean. But he would have to win out, and Jurgen has to drop 2 games.
Yeah.
2 of the last 3. So we'll have to see how that goes. For someone who has not like fully dropped a game, like,
they haven't played. So like depending on when that game happens, they're actually like, I mean, it would be really cool to see a first and second, battle at that point. But I think Jurgen's going to be really hard to catch though.
Up next, we got Necromantic State Hellhounds and Swamp People. 2-1 win. Best part of this game, we got a big guy touchdown.
Yeah, I was going to call that out too for sure. I think that is sick. It's awesome whenever the ball just randomly scatters onto a big guy and they latch onto it.
Yeah. So yeah, Don Corleone got a touchdown in that game. So 2-1 win for Jennings. I don't think there was like a bunch of other.
They did some damage back and forth, but it wasn't like permanent damage, right? Like, and I think that you can kind of expect that in a game like this. You can kind of expect that versus Lizardman versus Necro. You're gonna you got Claws and Mighty Blow on one side. You've got a lot of Force Strength on the other side, and Croxagore. And so depending on how people match up on the field, there's a lot of damage that can get done.
Yeah. All right, next got another one of your games, the Legion of Honesty, Honor, and Friendship, and Slaughterhouse 11. Go for it.
Yeah. So that game started in a very scary fashion because I think my second block of the game was double skulls with the Bloodspawn, but I managed to pro into a push. And then like managed to run out the rest of the block, and I think I had 2 double skulls in the very first turn of the game. So my rerolls were gone very fast, so I had to play through the whole half without it. Now Bryson, still new player, still made a couple of rookie plays where he had Morg. Now he double skulled with Morg. I think turn 1. He went to throw Morg, and it was like his first or second block, and he double-skulled and then failed the loner check. So Morg just kind of topples over right there. And so I got bailed out there. He stands up and blitzes Morg into a Bloodseeker, and he ends with Morg right next to the Bloodspawn. And the Bloodspawn took that personally and killed Morg. And then from there, I just get to kind of bully him because his scary piece that can damage me is missing from the game. And so Bomber spent most of the game running for his life because I just sent the house after Bomber wherever he was. And so, yeah, and then Bryson's rolls after that were mostly largely bad. He was, he would like fail a dodge with a goblin and just give me a bunch of blocks and whatnot. So Yeah, the bomber did stay in the game like for the most part because of all the bribes that he was able to buy, and so I did have to contend with bomber quite a bit. But eventually, he was just like tapped out of players, and so I was able to make sure that I could bully bomber into not throwing hits all over my team. So like I said, both the games that I played were very similar in that fashion, where both players just kind of rolled terribly. And at that point, I don't really, as long as I'm rolling okay, I don't really have to try to win those games. My team like did a thorough thrashing in both games. I think I had 5 casualties or more in both games. So, I think I had a bounty of SPP between those. So I would like to thank both Bryson and Jack's Dice for that. So.
Yeah. All right. And next we had the Barbarians and Metropolitan Dumpster Rats. This is a 2-2 draw. Draws and the Barbarians kind of going together.
Yeah, I said we should call him James Tide on account of the ties. He's got so many freaking ties, am I right?
You're really trying to tie that one on over here. But yeah, do you have any extra insight from Barbie on this game, or?
James was pillow-fisted. I think he KO'd like the first half of the game. I think he like KO'd 2 rats or something like that. He couldn't get like damage done. And like I said earlier, Barbie's really found a way to just make sure that she can get a gutter runner into the end zone. And so I think he went up 2-1. But I do think people will set up defensively and then not plan on Barbie doing like the full, even not going for a 1 turn. She will do the full move the Skaven 12 towards the end zone, and then they're just 1 square away from the end zone. And if you set up wrong, then you don't have anybody to go throw that hit. And I think our gutter runners at this point are all blodgers. So if like against Black Orcs, if there's just like 2 goblins back there, they may not actually have enough dice to bring the gutter runner down. And so I think that's what happened. She was able to sneak gutter runners back there. And I think a team like Lizardmen, which is probably the most like fair analog to Black Orcs, a team like Lizardmen, you've got skinks that can cover a lot of ground. Whereas Black Orcs, like if you're just out of position, then you can't hit players. Like your guys are too slow.
Right. Yep. All right. Next we have the Loki Rat Bastards and the Tidal Terrors. It's a 4-0 win for Clay.
I don't.
He was twisting the knife.
Man. Yeah. I think Austin really needs to examine any sort of antiques he brought into his house recently. Perhaps Austin has gone to some sort of field trip to ancient burial grounds of some sort. He clearly has some sort of malevolent entity attached to his person who wants nothing more than to make him experience terror during the course of a Blood Bowl game.
Yeah, I heard like a little bit of this game. It looks like the Black Goblin bombed himself out of the game.
That's what it looked like, yeah.
Which is never good.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, somebody just had Cindy bomb out like multiple times in the last games that I've taken her. I feel the pain. But I also did not spend $225K on Cindy. So,
I don't know. I don't cry tears over bombers. So
that's fair. I mean, I would cry tears over a stabber, not a bomber. Maybe a sneaky get, but not a bomber. The two-thirds of me feels bad for the Black Goblin, apparently. Up next, we had the Wolfpack and mostly Nurglings.
This is that's a tale of 2 halves right there.
Yeah, if you could have the I need Torplay to introduce like the ESPN prediction tracker. I don't know what they would need to do. Maybe like a webcam, just like play the game on a webcam, and they have Blood Bowl experts doing the percentage win chance at any point. But this game would have been like
wild.
It would have looked like an earthquake happening.
I mean, Warren. I first off, it's like Snotlings don't want to play against dwarves, right? They don't really want to do that because their guys are too hard to kill, and Snotlings are just straight up allergic to dwarves. So Warren like beat the crap out of Chase's team in that first half. Got the ball and executed the game plan you really want to execute. Just trash the team, and then all it took was 2 lucky turns for Chase, and all of the fortunes reversed. Just right there. Chase gets the 1-turn touchdown, and then he gets a bunch of casualties, and so he's able to just basically sweep the dwarves off the table in the second half, score, and win the game 2-1. Despite the fact that Warren did his best impression of a steamroller in that first half. So
yeah. All right, 2 more games left before we get into our deaths, which there were a lot this week, making up for past weeks, I guess. We had Clobbering Catastrophe and the Skaven Blight Skitter Stars. This was a game I was interested in seeing because I don't know if we talked about it as much on the show, but I think that up to this point, Coop's team had he'd played a lot of the bottom half of the division, and then diced the upper half that he had played. So I was interested in seeing how his team fared against someone who was on the hunt. He's got a rougher part of the schedule left, and this was one of those games that looked like it was going to be a challenge, and it was a 2-0 win for the Orcs.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch this game. It did happen in the store. But I didn't get to dip over to the table as much, and it just kind of looks like things caught up to Coop, right? This is the Travis Cooper luck that I'm accustomed to from him, where something will go sideways, and yeah, I think he didn't take a whole lot of damage. But Bomber being counterspelled certainly is a big thing for this game, right? Because then you don't have the ability to kind of steal a bunch of movement from the Orcs. And then, so we had a Fungus the Loon sighting. That might be the first time Fungus has been taken.
Yeah, probably this season,
yeah. And I think Fungus got dealt with pretty fast. So at that point, yeah, I mean, I think you're just playing at a strength deficit.
Yeah.
And he didn't have the tools to overcome that.
Right. Yeah. All right, one more game for Week 10. We had the Wretched Foul Fangs and Looking for Trouble. It was a foul fest going on. Foul Fangs take it 3-1.
Yeah, this is you would expect Underworld to win this matchup, I think, most of the time, just because Underworld's just a better team than regular Goblins. And I think Nate was just... I think Joel got the ball first, which is terrible for Goblins, right? Because then Joel gets to dictate the course of the game, and Nate is having to play catch-up. And Underworld can just score and make you roll to keep all your secret weapons in the game. Or you have to put not all of your secret weapons on the table, and then you're playing at a fraction of the team's power, right? It's this this tactical nightmare of trying to figure out how you're supposed to put your people on the table. And Joel's been practicing the 1-turn touchdowns, right? So you could put a secret weapon on the table. Joel gets the 1-turn TD, and now you're rolling a secret weapon that you didn't even get to activate, right? And so, yeah.
Yep. Let's do it for our catch-up games here. We've got our in memoriam section, very lengthy. So start it off with everyone's favorite player, Morgan. Ooh, actually, a quick side note before we go into this. Morg did die twice, but spoilers.
Yeah.
But since we just talked about Bomber being countered, we are even accounting for the 2 games that I know for sure he was countered in, including those, not double counting. Bomber is back over 30% of games in the league. So someone's going to have to do something about that. But yeah. In Memoriam, Morgenthorg for the Little Titans of Mayhem, and also the Legion of Honesty, Honor, and Friendship.
Yep. It felt good killing him. I'll say that.
Yeah. Yeah, you can never weep for a Morg. I don't think. Maybe one day the deaths will be permanent. Then we had Batiste Loki.
So this is a character who's been killed twice now.
Yes. Originally, I think it was Bastard Loki.
Yeah.
Which, surprise, surprise, Austin had a player die, and then the player died again. So he went back to his roots of dying for Austin. Also for Agamemnon, we had Nile Yawn, a ghoul.
Yeah, he was stabbed to death, apparently.
That's not surprising in a game with Ness. We did have we had Ness lose a player, a Nabichan Deadstrike. The lineman for tryhards.
Yeah, he had shadowing and defensive, which is not like the greatest combination of random skills, but 2 skills is not relevant. I don't think shadowing. I would probably fire any shadowing character just out of principle.
Yeah,
but defensive I think is looking pretty good for this league for sure.
Yep. We mentioned it before, but Darnatootin lost 2 linemen, Hank and Gloria.
Yeah, one of the Gloria had guard, so it sucks losing that for Jurgen. But I think a lot of people in the league aren't gonna cry over dead dwarves. So
for sure. The Realmgate Marauders had 2 linemen die. One of them was Mike. That was one that I stomped to death with tiny halfling feet, and the other one was Bill, which was murdered by rats.
Yep. He had Frenzy, Bill did. So there were a lot of skilled players who died this week. So I guess that's more likely to happen as the season goes on. But yeah.
I mean, it's also getting to the point where that's more impactful too.
Right.
It's harder to get stuff back.
Yeah, it's harder to replace that.
Yeah. We had Khal Drogo, a goblin for the barbarians. He got surfed in our game.
Okay.
Not the most exciting thing.
Right.
Apart by the crowd.
So, yeah.
We had Nate in Looking for Trouble lost 2 goblins, Zrar and Kanam.
Yep. I mean, just get used to goblins dying, I guess.
Yeah. We had Mako, a skink for Tidal Terrors. I don't remember if that one was skilled, but
no, he didn't have any skills.
Yeah, so that's fine. And then I'm sure you're shocked to believe that there's a player from Loki Rat Bastards on this list.
Yeah.
Classic Loki.
Yeah, and
Blitzer.
Yeah, he had 30 skills. He was actually a really good player, but the problem is he had 2 injuries, and so that means you're at a 25% chance to die.
Yeah.
When the D16 when the D16s rolled against you. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if I feel like I wouldn't care as much if it rolled a 15 or a 16, but if it was a 13, I'd be a little tilted. But.
Yeah, and it's harder to apothecary because there's 2 results that keep the player alive, right? You I guess 3. No, your 25% chance to keep the player in the game, right? But you don't even have the 1 through 6 to keep them in the game because the niggling injuries are pushing the chart further down.
Yeah, so it's 1 to 4.
Yeah.
So you're ooh.
Yeah.
Can I do it? But yeah. I would be very interested in going back and seeing the amount of SPP on Austin's team, amount of SPP lost. I think
it's at least 50 or more, right? It's substantial. He had several players that had multiple skills get killed, and that's just I'll tip my hat to him because he's still at it, right? He's still going. I don't think I've ever seen a team face this much adversity during the course of a league.
I can think of one. That was Austin's North team from last season. We lost like a Valkyrie and a Yeti and an Ulfrenner in like the last 3 weeks of the game, 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we should introduce Austin to some Armor 10 teams.
Yeah, maybe. He might be shocked. Might be shocked at the resilience.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here and come back with some Week 11 updates as well as our look at the playoffs. All right, we got a Week 11 to talk about. We got about half the games in, so a good chunk, and a lot of these games have actually had huge playoff implications. So we'll get into that when we talk about what the playoff hunt looks like after this. First game up I had was Renegades of Funk and Rag and Bone. It's a 2-0 win for Sean in the Shahan Bowl, but the Undead come out on top.
Yeah, it's when your game plan is beat your opponent to death. If they're already dead, then what are you left with?
Yeah,
I mean, I as somebody who plays like a chaos team into one of into these undead teams, you don't feel like bad, but it does feel just kind of like ice skating uphill. You're like, am I actually getting anywhere? If you can kill the really good players, then it feels a lot better. But I think Sean Adams ended up paying for that win over Juan in this game, where you're just like struggling to get things going. Your big guys aren't listening to you. You've got to fight mummies, and that's not like mummies are just scary, right? Like mummies are terrifying. The mummies aren't having to make rolls to do the thing, and the undead team has enough guard where if your big guys get taken out of the picture, and I think that's what happened. A couple of the big guys ended up getting KO'd in this game, and then you're left with just a bunch of human linemen, right? So you lose a lot of the people that Sean Adams has played against, the Chaos Renegade team has played, have not been good at managing the Rat Ogre. And a crafty player like Sean McCallum, on the other hand, is ready for that Rat Ogre to trap itself in some place with Frenzy, and then can siphon it off and knock it down and foul it, do something to it to get it out of the game. And I think that's what happened here.
Yeah, we can say Sean played a good game. Sean played a good game. But
in the end,
yeah, Sean took it over Sean in the end. And, when I talked to Sean after the game, he said that it was like fairly close. Like it could have been close, and just like it was like a little bit extra luck in the dice for the undead.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like 2-0 typically doesn't look like a close game, but I think it was probably
right. If the one thing, if there's like a make or break moment in the game where the one person ties it up, and then puts the opponent on the back foot, you have a 1-1 game that can become a 2-1 game for whoever wins it. But if something goes awry and the team that's already ahead just locks the game up from that, what was a close game is now just a 2-0 loss, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. Up next, I had another Hamburger Harmers game against Taisha Caron. So this was a 2-2 draw. It really did not feel like a draw. Like, I would not say it was like, if you look at the stat line, it did not look close from there, and I would say that it did not feel remarkably close. It was just like I had a couple shots at one turns and didn't get them. So, but so this was another one where I was like, Chef, Morg, Griff, started off the game with a casualty like immediately. And like the first half was basically just me. I was like fouling every turn, getting some KOs, taking some people off. The Crocsgore got casualtied on turn 5 by a tree.
Oof. And
it was a badly hurt. And Chris used it, like apothecaried it immediately because he's in a position where he needs to win games. And
the Crocsgore is the strength. Like it's the and the Prehensile Tail is very relevant against stunties.
Yeah. So going in to that, the sure hands halfling that I had randomed, like, ended up with the ball. He had gotten to base that halfling with the blitzer, and I went for the dodge and spiked a 6 on the dodge away from diving tackle, and just ran it in. So that felt really good.
Yeah, I imagine.
So yeah, going into the second half, was up. Like, it was a little bit closer in the second half, just as far as like casualties and stuff. Like, Chris started getting some casualties.
Yeah.
And
that's kind of the thing with halflings. There's always this timer ticking, right? Basically, there's an expiration date on the team.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing with gnomes.
Yes.
Definitely true with goblins. It's a little less true with snotlings, but there's this countdown to you don't have a team left. Now, sometimes you can extend it early if you're the one who's pushing the other team around, but as soon as you start absorbing hits, that's where that countdown speeds up, right? So yeah, you can, if you eliminate enough halflings, then all you got to do is just kind of like corral the trees, and then you can just kind of score your touchdowns where you need to. If you can take out Griff, that also helps, but I'm guessing Chris didn't have a shot at Griff in that game.
No, he did not have any good shots at Griff. His dice were not like particularly spectacular. I think the big thing was in the first half, the chef was 2 for 3. So
that's always painful.
I took like half his rerolls.
Yeah.
And there wasn't like a ton of block on his team, so he just didn't have the rerolls to like do things. There wasn't really much dodge, so his rerolls are pretty taxed on the Slan roster already.
Yeah. Slan's just an expensive team.
Yeah. So I'm up 1-0 at the half. Chris scores. Like turn 3 in the second half. The chef goes 0 for 3 in the second half.
Oof.
So like I'm just kind of playing, like trying to keep things a little bit, like trying to keep up with stuff, make it a little bit more challenging. So Griff gets the ball after that, and it's like pretty much like the game could have been locked, but I'm here as a ringer. I'm not trying to just like gatekeep people necessarily outside of like typical game actions.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to stall out the game, which I could have done. There was no way for Griff to be threatened and to save the board. The Crocsboard had gotten casualtied again and was missed next game, which is going to come up when we talk about playoffs. But I score on turn 14, so he has 2 turns to score, and it's going to be dice from the roll. That's basically my thought. It's like, I'm going to make you roll dice. If you can get it, then you got it, and then I've got a shot at a 1 turn on my 16. He goes around, and I have Morg and Griff kind of like surrounded by halflings in the back, but they're like 1 square apart because I just want, if there's like one side he commits to, I want to be able to get both over there. And he puts a lineman in between them. So he's like, you get to move one of them. He's like, you can blitz with one, but you're not going to be able to get both around. So I decide that if I'm going to blitz, I'd rather blitz with Morg just to be able to more reliably get 3 dice on the blitz and also have a better chance of just murdering whatever I touch because it's like the catcher. So I set up for 3 dice on the lineman with Griff and a roll, and it's triple skulls. He had not used his once per game yet, so I re-roll 1 of the die and it's a push, which is enough. And then Moore goes and blitzes, is able to base the ball carrier, but Chris is able to dodge out. He's able to like blitz away from a halfling and then dodge and then like do a handoff and then dodge out. So he gets the die rolls he needs with no re-rolls. And then on turn 16, when he kicks off, the ball like ends up in the end zone, so it's too far for me to actually do the handoff chain to get a 1 turn. So that game ends up a draw, but I'm like, I felt very good. I think there's a chance where if I had like committed to the bit and had murdered, that he wouldn't have a team left. So yeah, maybe a slight mercy given. But I think comparing that game with the game against Ide, it's like how much difference 1 point of armor makes, where against I'd like fighting 10 armor with Morg did not feel super great, and then in this game Morg was feasting.
Yeah, he's a nightmare.
So
for sure.
Yeah, that was kind of an interesting game. And yeah, I mean, that was like, I think, a good rebound from the Silent game to show up and get like 7 casualties. So, yeah, the big thing about this game was we both got stat ups out of it. I got a move up on a tree, and then Chris got a strength up on his Croxagore.
Yeah, so that's crazy. It's a crazy piece.
Well, yeah, we'll have to see how that builds for the last 2 games.
Yeah,
or the final game, because it is missing week 12.
Right.
So, next we had Tryhards and Tidal Terrors. This was a game where Swift Vine Glimmer Shark got taken again and promptly died.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Everything I said last time was true this time around, and Swift Vine is just very easily dealt with. You have to like screen Swift Vine from like the rest of the team. So I'm not sure how Ness is playing Swift Vine, but giving your opponent 2 SPP, paying 110k to give your opponent 2 SPP is certainly a questionable, questionable method.
Yeah, I think like I really wish, given the like recent slate of star players, and like obviously like I just had first experience with Maple and Rodney and another star player that I'll be talking about in a second. But but like I feel like she is close to being like fixed. I think if they replaced her like once per game with something where she could like move after a step, not even give her, you don't have to give her like dodge or anything, so you still have to risk it, you still have to like you know, try to make a roll, but at least give an opportunity to get away after the stab would be something.
Yeah, I can understand Ness's rationale. Stab is very good against armor 8 players, and it's not like the skinks can bully her. The major problem with her is that she just doesn't have the survivability stat-wise, right? Somebody like Acorn at least has dodge. She doesn't even have that benefit, right? She's got no wrestle, no dodge. So if skinks get 2 dice on her, then you can knock her over with a Defender Stumbles or a PAL, right? And then she's armor 7, so she's just more likely to explode if she does hit the ground.
Yeah. Yep. Up next, we got the Gondolin Glory Hounds and the Loki Rat Bastards. So this was, I called this a pseudo gym, where it was like he went up 2-0 and then was able to like prevent Austin from scoring twice.
Jim took some damage in this game. He had quite a few KOs, and that's not really reflected by the tour play there. But he had like 4 or 5 people in the KO box at one point in this game. Now, I mean, he did kill Austin's best remaining player at this point in the Blitzer, who I think was like set up to have a crazy game. And so, but Jim managed to take him out, and then Austin hadn't done quite enough damage to be able to like get the scores needed to balance the game out.
Yeah. We actually had Those Who Wander and the Barbarians.
This was a dicing.
Yeah, I could say I was straight up not having a good time.
Yeah. I'd apparently, let's look at the time played. I guess we needed really a snapshot. So, I mean, Will took 30 whole minutes during the course of this game, which is insane, right? That's the speed at which you complete a Blood Bowl game. It was on Will's clock for 30 of those full minutes, right? I think I'd said at one point, it was going into turn 6, I'd said I have had 5 full minutes of playtime, because the first thing he did resulted in a turnover most of those turns, which is you can't do anything. You're barely participating in a game in that instance, right?
Yeah. And I think there's there are probably some teams that could get away with oh, if I lose a turn here, I'm resilient enough, I'm like strong enough to be able to withstand losing a turn. But just the way that this team was redrafted by Ide to get the goblins that he did, the Black Orcs just are not quite there. So especially against a team with a whole bunch of skills like Will's, if you give him, and also the strength is on parity just about between Chosen and Black Orc, so you are not in a spot where you can afford to lose.
Yeah, you don't get to just push the team around, right? I think that's the Will's team is pretty resilient, and so I think Ide was always going to struggle with this game, and then I think if you got bad dice on top of that, then things just kind of they fall apart.
Yeah, that game ending up with some playoff implications as we're going to get through here in a sec. We got another game to talk about though: Clobbering Catastrophe and Arbor Vitae. This game happened yesterday.
Yeah,
3-1 win for the Wood Elves. I thought at one point it was going to be 4-0.
Oof, yeah.
But Hathark mentioned.
Yeah.
So,
Right. I guess he got a casualty in the game. I like Hathark. I don't necessarily know if I like him into Wood Elves. The thing about... because he doesn't have tackle, right?
I don't believe he does. He has break tackle.
He does have Juggernaut, which is pretty good because Wayne's got a lot of wrestle on his team. Yeah. So that's pretty good against that. But the thing is you need something that does damage to the Wood Elves, right? They're slippery, and with orcs, it's easy to get out of position and have the ball end up in a place where there's maybe 2 orcs near the ball and then 7 elves. And then the rest of the orc team is just kind of cut off from that, at which point you've got kind of a mismatch on the table. And I think that's kind of what happened here. I think Kick did a lot of damage. And Henderson's opted for no thrower plan, right? And so if you end up out of position on the board, and your plan is to just run the ball the whole time, and then the Wood Elves can kind of set themselves up in a picket line, and keep you just fighting for the ball on your half of the field. And so, and apparently Henderson just failed the sure hands pickups on the ball, and that was the game. That's what it boiled down to. At that point, the Elves just kind of make some rolls, get the ball away from you, set up a screen, and you're watching them run past you into the end zone.
Yeah. Well, that's going to bring it to through the week 11 games that we have. So we talked about pretty much all the games we got. Now we can talk about playoffs.
Yeah.
So we got, I guess, 2.5 weeks-ish left. We're at the current point where we are mostly caught up across all of the catch-up games and the current games left in week 11. We're at less than 1 full week of games to be played.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Which is the first time. Yeah. The first time that's happened this league.
Yes. But yeah, so I want to take a look at the standings. I was trying to do some math before the episode to give as complete of a layout as I could for this. So we're going to talk about both divisions. So we got Leg Day division first, since that is just the way that the brackets look on Tour Play. So for Leg Day, the top 5 teams are, from everything I can tell, they are locked for a playoff spot. So Darn Tootin', Rag and Bone, Those Who Wander, Gondolin Glory Hounds, and the Little Titans of Mayhem. It seems like 19 is going to be that cutoff point, where it's if you get to 19 points, you are in. Doesn't matter anything else that happens around you. 19 points is going to get you there. as it currently sits. With some games out, that could change. It might lower, but it's not going to randomly jump up to like 21. So 19 is where you need to be. Which means we've got a couple people who can sort of control their own destiny as it sits. There's 3. So we've got 5 people in contention for these last 3 slots. So those are Renegades of Funk with Sean, Neza, Tryhards, Clay, Tidal Terrors, Ide with Dar Barbarians, and Chris with Taisho Charon.
Yeah.
So.
And everybody below that is essentially eliminated.
Yeah, there'd have to be... Yes, yeah, because the next highest outside of a halfling-induced rampage, but that's not going to matter anyway. So yeah. I'm just here to play. But I could, theoretically.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for that. But it'd be good bragging rights to start to lose 5 games and still come back. But so here's what needs to happen for each of these players to lock it in. Sean, his last 2 games are Jim and Ide.
Not freebies.
No, definitely not freebies. But as we talked about James Tide earlier, Sean, if he gets 1 draw across his last 2 games, he is locked. So that's like what he is looking for. And I think this is useful to know. Like if you're in this situation, like, you know, you're not going to put yourself, don't overexert yourself to like, you know, like don't think I have to win this game.
Right.
Because you could put yourself in a situation where all of a sudden you lose a game that you're comfortably going to draw.
Yeah.
And that's not going to be good for you. Ness's last 2 games are Chris and Will. So he's currently at 17 points. So if he draws both of those games, he will be a lock. If he wins one of them, then the other one doesn't matter, and he'll just be locked. Clay, at 14 points, he is the lowest person in the standings currently that could control their own destiny, but he has to win out. His last 2 games are Barbie and Fred. So, like, Fred currently at the bottom. Barbie on a bit of a surge. She's been like drawing games. She got a win against Fred.
If you look at her last 6 games, she's had like a very average performance, right?
Yeah. So, and also like lizards are fast, rats are faster. That could be a game that could lead to be like an upset waiting, especially if you're walking into it.
I think a lot of people would view a tie with Barbie based off of her positioning in the standings as kind of an upset, right? Mm-hmm. It's not like a full loss, but when you're scrapping for every single point that you need, then a tie is a disaster.
Yeah.
When you need a win.
Yeah, and a win and a tie would put him in a very precarious situation with the next 2. So the next 2 people, Ide and Chris, they are in the win and pray bracket.
Need help.
Yeah, so they both need to win out their games and then hope something else happens in front of them. So Ide plays Sean. So there's a chance where, you know, if he can get that win, that's one thing he needs to happen.
He needs that
for
win.
him. And then his other game is Austin, which if Austin has a team left, will be the factor there.
Yeah.
Chris also in the win and pray category. His last 2 games are Fred and Ness. So the interesting part of this is Chris has that Croxagore that is missing the next game. So we'll have a better picture of this when the week 12 pairings are announced. But the sequencing of that games could matter a lot, where I think Chris really wants that Croxagore for the Nest game, just due to the
Prince Tail, the 6 strength matters a whole lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going for the Croxagore in that specific matchup, where if he doesn't have it, I think he's going to be at a pretty marked disadvantage. And there's not going to be as good, like anything you could try to induce to make up for that, it's just not going to be the same. Like you could get Zolcath, but you're missing the block. You could get Glottal Stop, but then you don't have players to spare if the Animal Savagery goes wrong twice. Yeah. Like there's just not, like you're going to be missing a big piece of that. And so that's going to be, I think that's where we're at with that division, is like 3 people are comfortably able to control what they are doing. Ide and Chris are looking up at them, hoping that they stumble. But each of them has a shot as someone ahead of them.
Yeah.
So
it's a very, very interesting. The last several games, the way they played out, have been very interesting. Both, I think all three, between Clay, Ide, and Chris, because they were tied at one point. They all had the same number of points.
Yes.
And they have all tied.
Yes.
Like, they've all tied against each other. So they're... the head-to-head is just straight up the regular tie breaks at that point, right? And so you fast forward through these games, and they've all played them. That was like one of the big questions, is that a lot of them were tied with not the same number of games played. Now, like, I don't know, it's extremely precarious, right? If we know anything about Blood Bowl, is that games don't play out the way you expect every single time. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, if you look at, and like Ide and Chris both have like very similar like games. If you look at like, especially the last 5, right? You've got like a couple losses and draws. Like they have not won a game in a while.
They're hungry for it.
So yeah, but the other thing too is if they are still tied, it's going to come down to touchdown differential. So
yeah, in which case you really don't want to continue tying your opponents, right? So
yeah, like you can't tie there. But also one thing in Chris's favor is Fred has potential to give up touchdowns. Chris is currently 2 behind Ide in touchdown differential. It's -1 to -3. So like Chris is really looking for a big win in one of these games, or like solid wins across both, to be able to compensate for that. So it's going to be interesting to see. Ness has also been like on a little bit of a downturn. He went like 3 straight wins and 3 straight losses.
I think
so.
Yeah, Ness was kind of like punching above his weight class for several games there and was looking pretty good. But I think his high variance gameplay style caught up to him, right?
Yeah. So lots of considerations there. I think that's very interesting. I think like the last 2 weeks, as we get to talk about the regular season, watching how these play out is going to be very interesting. But we have to wait until next week to actually see what the schedules are. And odds are next episode we won't have games for them to talk about, unless they're just feeling hungry for it and play them on like Tuesday
right,
or Monday night. So
and Chris plays his games fast.
Yeah, that's true.
So like Chris is like, he gets the schedule and he scheduled it within the next couple of days. So
okay, yes. On to the total body division. So in this division, the top 6 are locked. So yeah,
we're jockeying for position. Right?
Yes, so with the leg day division, there's not a lot of like, first is mostly locked. There are a lot of things need to happen. So I think it would take, like Sean has to beat Jurgen first. If Jurgen wins that game, then nobody can catch him. So Sean has to like win out, and Jurgen has to like lose 2 games.
Right.
To his last 3. So that's a big ask to get to. But it's possible. But yeah, like from there, like 3rd through 5th are all going to be kind of in limbo about where they could be. Even Sean also, like if Jurgen beats Sean, then like 2nd through 5th or 6th are all going to be in flux right up until the end. Total body is like there's not necessarily a clear cut first place.
Yeah, Wayne's the favored, but Coop's a game behind. He wins that, he goes up to 9 points. I mean, he goes up to 9 wins to Wayne's 8 wins and 2 draws. And then but I think Coop's like schedule is a little bit harder than what Wayne's remaining. And I think they are even playing, right?
They do have to play each other.
Yeah.
So that game could be for first. So yeah, there's like a lot of games out here, but yeah. So right now, 1st through 6th are completely locked. Beyond that, there's only two teams I can really talk about that are in control of their own destinies. One of them is Chase. The other's Jack. Chase being just due to the fact that he's currently 7th, and he's the only other person with double-digit points right now.
Yeah.
So if he wins out, he will be fine.
Right.
The other person is Jack, and that is mostly by virtue of just him being games behind.
Yeah.
If he pulls off a run, if he just randomly wins a couple games in a row, he's going to be sitting in a good position to take that 8th spot. But those are outside of that. There's still a lot of games out in this division. This is where now a bunch of the sort of lag is happening.
Yeah.
But it's at the point, even theoretically, if stuff went completely off the rails for a bunch of people and a bunch of random draws happen, or someone else goes no one is I think mathematically eliminated at this point from the playoffs in this division,
which is wild.
Yeah. Obviously we got to see how the catch-up games happen, but yeah, that is going to be bizarre to see. But I think beyond that, you're looking at what people really want. I think players from Total Body are kind of looking at the bottom half of leg day and being I want to, you're really wanting to get into the top half. I think there's a lot of incentive there to get certain seeds where you're I want to play this person. This is where I want to be.
You don't want to be the person who has to play into Jurgen.
Yes.
Right? That's
right. You don't want to be the person that's playing Jurgen. You don't really, I guess, want to be the person that has to play into Snotlings.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to play into Snotlings, right? That's the thing. There might be some people. I think maybe Wayne wants to play into Snotlings, but I wouldn't relish the chance with Wood Elves.
Maybe if I had my Dwarf team, but
yeah, you guys are just too fragile.
Yeah.
I think Amazons. I honestly think Amazons aren't bad in Snotlings because they don't have enough tackle. They can't take tackle.
Yeah.
Right. And so your guys don't get knocked down at the rate that other teams do, and so you get fouled less, which means you don't fall as far behind. Plus, you can dodge into Snotling tackle zones without, and so you get to leverage your dodge, and then you can if you play an objective based game, you can score enough points to be far enough ahead that if the Snotlings table you're still ahead.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but that is, as of right now, the most complete picture of the playoffs that we can provide. That's a lot of plosives in that instance, but yeah, that's where we're at. And yeah, obviously, it's gonna have to see where it ends up. We can talk about next week. There's a smattering of Week 11 games left. Which games are sticking out to you left? I think all the good leg day games have been played.
Yeah, I mean, we have to play. I think that's a good game, obviously, right? Because that's two upper bracket teams squaring up. And then the Travis and John game, also a big one for sure for the league.
Yeah.
Jennings is trying to kind of stake his claim for excellent positioning in the division. His team, he's when he's played against the upper echelon, his team is a lot like mine. When we've played against the people in the upper echelon of the division, we've taken losses, and then we bully relentlessly the people below us in the standings. So, this is a chance for Jennings to prove that he's got more in the tank than what initially appears.
Yeah. So he does have a lot of tackle.
He does
to go up against some gutter runners.
Yeah.
So maybe that'll come into play. But
for sure.
Yeah. That was my pick of the remaining games. I think that one's going to be super interesting. I don't know if any of the other games are really going to live up to that level.
Yeah, I mean they all have interesting things that could occur.
Yeah, Looking for Trouble and the Legion of Honesty, Honor, and Friendship seems just like a game where if the goblins just get into it and are just going back and forth, that could be a fun one to watch.
That's either like a 20 casualty game or a 2 casualty game, right?
Yeah.
Like, if nobody could roll anything, then nobody ever gets hurt. But if you have a couple bombs go off in funny places, then you have a massacre.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think this obviously is a marathon of an episode to get through. Any parting thoughts as we have a super quick turnaround this week to get into it?
Right. I mean, one of the things I wanted to experiment with the podcast format, but unfortunately we ended up covering like all the rest of the games. I thought it would be interesting if we each talked about our game plan for upcoming game without the other person in the room, and then you edit that together. That's just something we'll keep in mind if we end up playing against each other in a future one. Yeah. But the idea there being like we could see where our heads are at. Now I think we talk enough just like during the course of the week that we're probably, like we're 99% of like Blood Bowl decisions we're going to be kind of in agreement on. So
yeah, I hope you're ready for Anky Panky.
Did you enjoy him your chance playing?
Yeah, Anky Panky felt good, and also like I guess we really didn't talk about the Wayne game, but it was like Wayne beat me 2-1, but it was like dice in the first half did not go his way, and then dice in the second half all went his way. But like I had a shot at a 1 turn on the last turn to try to tie the game, and I had used Anky Panky's once per game before that. I think if I'd had that, and if I hadn't tried to burn a reroll to stop him from scoring, because like he had to score on turn 16 anyway, I was still gonna get a turn. Didn't matter. So like, if I had 1 reroll in Anky Panky's once per game, I think I actually could have pretty comfortably gotten the 1 turn score.
Because the grab can set up
to tie it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Anky Panky is honestly like a platonic ideal of like a star player, where it's like not super crazy stat line. I mean, he's like fast. He's like 7 moves.
Yeah, 7 moves. Strength 4 is like that's a threat.
Well, like block, grab, stand firm, like all of those are like super relevant, and getting like a free reroll. Like I think like star players that give you a free reroll just feels good.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it set me up where the ball. I couldn't catch the ball.
How does his work?
So his is you can re-roll. I think it's any number of block dice on 1 block.
Okay. Is it once per game or is it
it's once per game?
Okay.
No, he's not Hathoric level, but yeah, like it felt good. Like I used it early because I was just trying to like knock lineman down, trying to play the game. Obviously, I guess the other part of this game was Joel got sent off turn 1.
Yeah, that sucks. Yeah.
And I had an opportunity to foul a War Dancer that I did not do because I knew that War Dancer. That's like the whole third shooter thing we talked about.
Yeah.
Callback to season 1.
Right.
But also Anky Panky is like a callback to season 1 a little bit. But like I need that War Dancer to have a shot at the gutter runners
in the
from
Coop. Yeah.
So I need, and also like I want Coop to like kind of fall down in the standing so I have a chance to leap past him.
Right.
So like I can't kill a War Dancer, and the Apothecary had been used, so like I can't afford to kill this player, because that makes it harder for other teams in the division to beat. So
yeah, I gotcha.
That's kind of how that game played out. But.
Yeah, that's funny. I don't know. I show no mercy. If it's a powerful player, I don't want to play against that player in the playoffs, right? So if I've got the shot now, when I played against Wayne, all the War Dancers just had plot armor.
Yeah,
couldn't get them off the table. If I knocked them down, that was where I would roll like a 5 for armor break. Mm-hmm. The other players were not spared, but the War Dancers couldn't get them off the table.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's going to do it for us this week. Appreciate y'all listening wherever you are. Give us a follow, like, add us to your secret intelligence Telegram chats or something.
Share us in your bulletin boards.
Yeah.
Your forum posts.
Yeah. Like, don't ask Grok about us, but otherwise, do what you want. Appreciate y'all listening. Catch y'all probably, at our normal schedule next week.
Yeah. All right. Goodbye.